Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Ready to untangle some more of the English language?
Always. There are so many fascinating words out there that can easily trip people up.
Right, and today we're tackling a bunch of words that sound alike but have completely different meanings.
Yeah, these are the ones that can really make you stop and think for a second.
Especially if you're learning English as a second language.
Absolutely. These subtle distinctions can be a real challenge.
So to help us all out, we've got a stack of articles and even a funny video all about these word pairs.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, so why don't we jump right in with affect and effect.
Oh, those two are classics.
I know, right? I've even noticed a pronunciation difference between like British and American English.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. In American English, both words are pronounced the same. Affect.
Affect.
But in British English, affect as a verb is pronounced affect.
Affect.
With a short E sound.
Interesting. So you might hear it pronounced differently depending on who's speaking.
Exactly.
Okay, but how about the meanings?
So affect, with an A, that's mainly used as a verb.
Okay.
And it basically means to influence something or to cause a change in something.
The weather can really affect my mood.
Perfect example. And then affect with an E is usually a noun.
Got it.
And it refers to the result of that change.
So, like, the effect of the storm was devastating.
Exactly. You've got it.
So effect is the action and effect is the outcome.
You got it.
Okay, I think I've got that one down.
All right. Feeling good.
That's next.
How about accept and accept?
Oh, yes. Those two are pronounced exactly the same,
I know, it's tricky.
especially for English language learners.
Yeah, and actually we have a hilarious clip from that video where someone mixes these up.
Oh, no, let's see it.
Okay. Oh, dear.
It happens to the best of us.
That's an easy mistake to make.
It is. So to be clear, accept means to agree to something or to receive something willingly.
Like, I accepted their invitation to dinner.
Perfect. And then accept indicates an exclusion or an exception to something. Like, everyone is going to the party except me.
Exactly. So accept is about inclusion and accept is about exclusion.
Those examples are super helpful.
Glad to hear it.
Ready for another one?
Absolutely. Bring it on.
Okay, how about sight? Sight and sight.
Oh, wow. 3 words that sound exactly the same.
Right. This one always makes me think of that tongue twister. She sells seashells by the seashore.
Oh, yeah. It's all about those subtle sound differences.
I know, it's tricky.
Even native English speakers can trip up on these.
For sure.
So let's break it down. Sight refers to the ability to see.
Like, she lost her sight in the accident.
Right. And then cite means to quote or reference a source.
Ah, so if I was writing a research paper, I might say, according to the study cited in this article.
Exactly. You got it.
And then site refers to a location or a place.
Yes, like they chose a beautiful site for the new park.
Okay, so site for vision, site for referencing, and site for location.
Exactly. It all depends on the context.
Those are great tips.
Rather helpful.
All right, let's move on to another tricky pair.
Okay, which one are you thinking of?
How about advice and advice?
Yes. Those two can be tricky, especially in written English.
Right, and I think understanding this difference is super important for those learning English as a second language.
I agree. It's all about those grammatical functions.
Okay, so let's clarify.
Okay, so advice with a C, that's a noun,
Okay,
and it refers to a suggestion or a recommendation.
so for example, my teacher gave me some good advice about my writing.
Perfect example.
And then advise with an S, that's the verb form.
Exactly. So it means to offer counsel or like to make a recommendation.
So I might say, my doctor advised me to get more sleep.
Precisely. You're advising someone when you're giving them advice.
So I like that. And also, advice is an uncountable noun.
That's a great point.
So you can't say advices or an advice.
Exactly. If you want to talk about a single piece of advice, you would say a piece of advice or some advice.
This is the kind of stuff that can really take your English to the next level.
For sure, those little details make a big difference.
All right, ready for one more?
Absolutely. Hit me with it.
Okay, try this one. Eminent, imminent, and imminent.
Oh, boy. Those are tough, even for native English speakers.
I know, right? I always have to double check the spelling.
Me too. But let's try to break them down.
Okay.
So eminent with an E means famous and respected, usually in a particular field.
Like she is an eminent scientist.
Exactly. You're emphasizing her accomplishments in the scientific community.
Okay, makes sense.
Imminent with an I implies that something is about to happen.
So the announcement of the election results was imminent.
Yes. There's a feeling of anticipation and like it's about to happen any minute.
Got it.
And then imminent, also with an I, is a little different.
Okay.
It refers to something that's inherent or intrinsic, a quality that's part of its nature.
So if I were to say justice is an imminent principle of a fair society, would that be correct?
Yes, absolutely. You're suggesting that justice is a fundamental part of a fair society.
Wow, these words can express such complex ideas?
I know, it's amazing what language can do.
We've covered a lot of ground already.
We have. And there's more to come.
That's right. We've got even more confusing word pairs to untangle in the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait. In the meantime, I encourage everyone to try using these words in their own sentences.
That's a great idea. The more you practice, the better you'll get.
Exactly. It's interesting, right? You'd think native English speakers would have this all figured out.
You'd think so. But even we get tripped up sometimes.
I know, it's a good reminder that language is always evolving.
It is, and that's what makes it so fun.
Totally. So are you ready for some more word pairs?
Absolutely. Hit me.
Okay, how about ensure and insure?
Oh yeah, those two always get me.
They're so similar.
One letter difference.
I know, and it can make a big difference in meaning.
I bet this one's especially tricky for English language learners.
It can be. So let's break it down.
Okay, let's start with ensure.
So ensure, with an E, basically means to make certain of something to guarantee it.
So like, please ensure that all the lights are turned off before you leave.
Exactly. You're making sure that something happens.
You have room for error.
Exactly. And then insure, with an I, that has to do with financial protection.
Ah, so this is the one we use when we're talking about insurance.
Exactly. It means to protect against financial loss.
Like, I need to insure my new car against accidents.
Perfect. You're protecting yourself financially.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. Insure is about making something certain, and insure is about protecting against loss.
You got it.
Practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. And having clear examples like this can really help.
For sure. It's amazing how one letter can change the meaning of a word.
It is. It's like a little puzzle.
Speaking of puzzles, ready for another pair?
Always. Let's do it.
All right, prepare yourself for farther versus further.
Ah, another classic pair that causes confusion.
I've seen this one mixed up so many times.
I know, right? The spelling and the pronunciation are so close.
But there is a subtle difference.
Yeah. There is farther with an A is usually used for physical distance.
Okay, so like the runner in the lead is farther ahead than the others.
Exactly. We're talking about a measurable distance.
Makes sense. So what about further?
Further with a U is usually used in a more figurative sense,
Okay.
like to describe an extent or a degree.
So like we need to discuss this further before making a decision.
Exactly. We're not talking about physical distance, but more like how much we need to talk about it.
And I could also say something like, I want to explore this topic further.
Yes. You want to learn more about it.
These examples are really helpful.
Glad to hear it. It's all about those subtle nuances.
It is, and it's a good reminder that learning English is a journey.
It definitely is. And it's about more than just grammar and vocabulary.
Right.
It's about immersing yourself in the language and paying attention to how words are used.
That's a great tip for everyone listening.
The more you engage with the language, the better you'll understand it.
Well said. But hold on, we're not done yet.
Oh, there's more.
There's more. We've got a few more word pairs to unpack in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait. I love a good word challenge.
Me too. And I'm sure our listeners are ready for more. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up today's episode with some more tricky word pairs.
You know, the ones that even native speakers sometimes mess up.
Exactly. And we know mastering these can really make a difference for those learning English as a second language.
How about those subtle nuances?
Right. So are you ready for the final challenge?
Bring it on. I love these word puzzles.
All right, then get ready for lay versus lie.
Oh, those two are infamous.
I know, right? I've seen so many arguments about these words.
Me too. And it's understandable. They sound similar and the meanings are kind of related.
But the grammar's totally different.
Exactly. And that's where the confusion comes in.
I think a lot of our listeners would really appreciate it if we could break down that grammar difference.
Absolutely. So lay is a transitive verb, meaning it needs an object.
Okay.
So it means to put something down or place something somewhere.
Like, I lay the book on the table.
Perfect. The book is the object of the verb lay.
Got it.
Now, lie is an intransitive verb, so it doesn't take an object.
All right.
And it means to recline or rest in a horizontal position.
So I would say, I lie down on the couch.
Exactly. There's no object. You're just describing the action of lying down.
So lay needs an object, and lie doesn't.
You got it.
But wait, it gets even trickier. because the past tense of lie is lay.
Yes, that's where it really gets confusing.
Okay, so help us out here. How do we keep them straight?
All right, so if you're talking about reclining the past, you would say, the cat lay in the sun all afternoon.
Okay.
But if you're talking about putting something down in the past, you would say, I laid the blanket on the bed.
Those examples are so helpful.
I'm glad. It's all about context and whether or not there's an object.
Makes sense. So practice, practice, practice.
Exactly. Just like with all the other word pairs we talked about.
It's amazing how these little differences can have such a big impact on our communication.
I know, it's incredible how much meaning is packed into these tiny words.
Well said. I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive for today.
I agree. We've covered so much ground.
We've explored all kinds of confusing word pairs and hopefully given our listeners the tools to master them.
And remember, language learning is a journey.
It is. So keep practicing, keep exploring, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's the best way to learn.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive, everyone. We'll see you next time for another exciting exploration of the English language.